So back in 2020, India dropped its national education policy, and it was a pretty big deal. We're talking about the first major overhaul of its education system in the 21st century. It's this massive blueprint designed to completely transform how an entire generation learns. So what's actually inside this ambitious plan? Let's dive in and decode it.
Okay, but before we get into the nitty-gritty, I want to start with just one number. 5 crore. That's 50 million. It's a huge figure, and it sits right at the very heart of this whole policy.
So what's the story behind this massive number? And why is it so important for understanding the urgency behind this whole reform?
Well, get this. That's the estimated number of young students in India, we're talking elementary school here, who can't read and understand a basic text or do simple addition and subtraction. The policy itself doesn't mince words, it calls this a learning crisis, and that is the core problem the NEP 2020 is built to solve.
All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to look at why a new policy was even necessary, break down this new 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 structure you might have heard about, see what learning will actually look like for students, talk about the crucial role of teachers, and then zoom out to the big picture, the vision for 2040.
Right, so first up, why a new policy? Look, this is way more than just a paperwork update. The real goal here is to fundamentally shift the entire system away from that old school rote memorization, just cramming for exams, and move towards building skills that actually matter in the 21st century, like critical thinking and problem solving.
And probably the single biggest, most talked about change is the very structure of schooling itself. The policy literally tears down the old 10+2 system that pretty much everyone went through for decades, and it's replacing it with this brand new 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 design. So let's see what that looks like.
Okay, just look at this side by side. The difference is huge. On the left, you've got the old system where formal school kicked in at age 6. But check out the new one on the right. It starts at age 3. It's formally bringing early childhood education right into the fold. This 5-year foundational stage, that's a game changer.
So let's quickly walk through these new stages. First up, the foundational stage. That's all about learning through play. Think less desks, more discovery. Then you move to the preparatory stage, where they introduce some light textbooks, but it's still really focused on activity. By the middle stage, you start getting subject teachers and a real taste of what they call experiential learning. And finally, you hit the secondary stage, which is all about giving students way more flexibility and letting them study across different disciplines.
Okay, so the structure is different. We get that. But what does that actually feel like for a student? Day to day, what's really changing inside the classroom?
The big idea here is something called experiential learning. And really, all that means is moving away from just sitting there and listening to a teacher talk. It's about getting your hands dirty, learning by doing. We're talking hands-on projects, mixing art and sports with math and science. Using storytelling, you get the picture.
So, what does this new kind of classroom actually look like? Well, for starters, imagine being in high school and taking physics and music, or biology with economics. The policy completely gets rid of those rigid walls between arts, science, and commerce. Plus, they're bringing in skills like coding way earlier. And get this, they're even adding 10-day bagless internships, where you go work with a local carpenter or potter to get some real-world experience.
And it makes sense, right? If you're going to change how kids learn, you've got to change how you test them. So the idea is to move away from those super high-stress, all-or-nothing final exams. Instead, you'll have more regular, low-stakes check-ins that are actually designed to see if you understand the concepts, not just if you can memorize facts. The new report card is even meant to be this 360-degree thing, where you assess yourself and your classmates give you feedback too.
Now, all of these grand ideas are great, but let's be real. None of it works without the teachers. And the policy knows this. It puts a huge emphasis on empowering teachers, recognizing that they are the absolute linchpin for making any of this a reality.
I mean, this quote from the policy itself really says it all. The goal is clear. Make teaching a highly respected, sought-after profession again. Attract the best people by giving them respect, autonomy, and a clear path for growth.
So how do you make sure teachers are ready for this new world? Well, the policy puts a number on it, 50 hours. That's the minimum amount of continuous professional development, think training, workshops, new skills, that every single teacher is expected to do each year to keep getting better.
Okay, so we've looked at the structure, the classroom, the teachers, but where's all of this actually heading? What's the end game? This policy isn't just about fixing today's problems, it's laying out a really bold, long-term vision for what Indian education should be by 2040.
And it's not just wishful thinking. They've set some concrete goals. The first big one
is by 2025 to completely solve that foundational learning crisis we talked about at the beginning. Then, by 2030, the target is 100% enrollment for all kids, from preschool all the way to secondary school. And the ultimate moonshot? By 2040, to have an education system that is, and this is a direct quote, second to none in the entire world.
But it's not just about climbing some global leaderboard. The vision is to build an education system that's proudly and deeply rooted in Indian culture and values, while at the same time creating students who are true global citizens. The ultimate dream here is to turn India into a global knowledge superpower. So there's no doubt about it, the NEP 2020 is one of the most ambitious educational overhauls you'll find anywhere on the planet. The blueprint is there, the vision is incredibly inspiring, but as we wrap this up, it all comes down to one big question, doesn't it? Will this policy, once it's actually put into practice in millions of classrooms, truly create that next generation of critical thinkers and innovators that India is counting on? Well, the answer to that is being written as we speak.